happy that I got the motivation to get up and do a video today because I've been going through a lot of rest periods, a lot of contemplation, figuring out what's next. And the figuring out is the funny part because it's more like just living every day. We always say we're figuring things out. I think every day we're waking up in the same awareness and then saying, okay, well, let's try something different today and see how it pans out and see what did I learn. I'm someone who's big on learning from whatever mistakes or things that I may consider to be mistakes or whatever challenges I may have gone through and say, how can I attack this day differently? So today, let's get into chasing highs and avoiding lows. So I'm going to kind of connect this to last year where I was pivoting my platform in the direction of advocating for sacred medicine, teaching people about the experiences that I had with psychedelics. And just like anything, I quickly discovered that anything is addictive. Anything is a cult. Anything can entice you with the promise of making life just a little bit easier. And I think I realized a long time ago that I was the greatest tool that I was ever going to have. I have taken up things like yoga, meditation. I've studied Rastafarianism. I've studied Buddhism, Taoism, constantly trying to see what the similarities and differences were. And my experiences last year with working with psilocybin, it pretty much revealed to me the same thing I always learn, which is there's nothing really different about any of these things that we choose to experience. And so it kind of led me to the question, why are we always chasing highs and avoiding lows? And I know that within this community of sacred medicine, we don't really like to use the words highs. We like to say we're sitting with medicine. But I think that's kind of avoidant of the fact that it's just like anything else. It's really no different than pharmaceutical companies. I don't think anybody always has the intent of getting you addicted all the time. I think that is something that we do on our individual paths, and it's only up to us to free ourselves. And they have things like rehab and integration if we're talking sacred medicine, but I realized in the past year that it didn't matter what I took. It didn't matter how many mystical experiences that I had, that this was pretty much similar to anything else that I've tried before. So as someone who is a child of someone who had an addiction, and being someone who never gets addicted to anything myself, I quickly saw, I don't want to say quickly, I don't know why I say quickly. I've observed over the years that the reason, or one of the reasons that addiction happens is because we like to stay in that good feeling. Why do any of us smoke cannabis? Why do any of us take up hobbies? Why do any of us join groups? Because we're searching for some other than feeling that is going to keep us connected. And I think over like this dark period over the last few months, what I've realized, especially like through social media, is that anything can take a hold of you. Anything can make you think that it has the key to solving all your problems. I mean, I've tried everything, and I'll say like I've tried fitness, speaking, which is just something I think that is a part of my path and that I enjoy, working with different groups, and it was starting to kind of give me cult vibes. And by that, cults don't always let you know that they're cults. Like they'll draw you in claiming to help you solve a problem. And they'll kind of make you think that you're solving the problem, which you should be, but then they have all these solutions and these packages and things you can buy. And I think I talked about this in a TikTok reel, that I was the queen of buying everything because I thought that it would help. I would buy more crystals because I thought it would help quicken my spiritual journey, or I would buy, certain herbs because it showed that if I took these, then, my life would just be a little bit better, my health would be better. And I believe that, when something is going to happen, it's just going to happen. It does not matter. And your path is very specific to you and what you experience. So I went through a lot last year, working with these medicines, taking time off, coming back, taking time again. And I feel like I was chasing something. I was chasing this feeling that, I could only be connected to spirit if I was having these deep experiences where I saw the Great Mother. And it was then I realized that that Great Mother is me and she lives within me. And I keep looking to this outward tool. It's just like me extending my hand like I'm a branch. And I let other people pick from my fruit, but that doesn't mean that they are not also of me. So if that kind of, I hope that doesn't lose people when I say it. I try to do as many analogies as possible, but from what I've seen, people who get involved with these medicines are the same people who once had addiction problems. They feel like they're lost in some way. And when you feel like you're lost, you can't really enjoy the journey as much. You're always looking at the map for directions. You're always looking for someone to tell you, like, okay, this is the path that you need to go. And when medicine taps in, it does tell you that you are the key and you are the solution. What I've learned also from seeking out many spiritual teachers is they're never really telling you anything different. They're telling you to slow down. They're telling you to take your time. They're saying that everything that you wish to be already lives within you, that there is nowhere else that you need to seek it. Now, in religion, they'll usually identify it with one person. And I have a funny story. So I was working at the store and I was telling one of my coworkers about this Buddhism book I was reading. And she was a very religious woman. And she looked at me and she said, "You worship the Buddha?" And when you think of worship, you think of like bowing down, serving like a certain entity or person every day. And I tried to explain that, no, I don't serve the Buddha. This is just these principles are things I think that we can all live by. This is no different than the 10 Commandments in the Bible or understanding that suffering is inevitable. And I think it's really weird how we view what religion is and what spirituality is as if they aren't the same. I think that it's just the way in which they are built are different. So when you have spirituality, for example, or I'll say religion first. With religion, you think of structures, you think very rigid, you think of one-track minded. When you think of spirituality, you say, oh, everything is connected and we understand everything, but they fall under the same categories most of the time. You always have your spiritual leaders. You have your people who claim that they've been through it all. You have people who show you how they got success through using, these these certain medicines, and it's a devil in sheep's clothing. It's the same thing. It really doesn't change. It doesn't matter what you believe in, because if it rings true for you, you'll always find a group of people who agree with you. You'll always find a group of people who say, yep, I resonate with that. And in my time, that hasn't been very long, but I feel like I've lived a million lives. I've seen that nobody is right and nobody is wrong. Everybody has it right to some extent, and then everybody also has it wrong. And I believe balance is just what we need to understand most about life. When we say suffering is inevitable, that does not mean that your life is terrible. It means that you have to feel pain in order to experience joy. You have to die in order to be reborn. That is the same in any part of life, in any essential lesson for growth. We have to go through these deep and dark shadow periods where we're waiting around for something to happen, or we're accessing these parts of ourselves that we're not so used to looking at. I learn a lot from children's movies too, especially with my kids. I think as an adult, I've been able to reanalyze a lot of these messages, and I can look at it from different points of view, which makes it really, really easy to kind of break down, okay, well, this is what they're trying to teach us. She's eating my glasses. It's the only way I can keep her distracted while I do this video. My husband and son are sleeping, so I really wanted to get this message out today. But I want to talk too about avoiding lows. So the avoiding lows are, I think, social media. I get off very often, and I talked to my brother about this. When I see things becoming too popular, I got to get off. And it's because I see what's happening and that it's becoming, like I said, an addictive process. So I was really excited when I started talking about different sacred medicines and my experience with them and things that I've learned and, getting access for people. And then not too long after, I started seeing magazine articles about it and more people speaking out. And it was exciting because you're like, okay, you understand what I understand. You get what I get. Like, let's talk about it. But then it just became a revolving circle where everybody was just talking about their trauma all day and not really talking about how we can move forward from this. Tools are meant to be tools. They're not meant to be used all of the time. And I believe that we are the most incredible tool that we have in this life. As a spiritual teacher, I believe one of the most important things we can do is teach people that they are the tool to their own happiness, to their own path, to their own journey. If we tell people you have to use this in order to feel this, or you have to seek this in order to experience this, we're not showing them the reflection that everything that they seek in these outside sources is really already within them. It's been a long journey so far learning these things. I feel like I keep learning the same lesson over and over again, but that's how it works. Whenever you see these movies where you have some sort of master and someone who's learning from them, they have them do the same thing over and over and over again until they get the concept. And sometimes you take the hard way, sometimes you take the easy route, but you start to learn over time that repetition, learning the same lesson over and over again, is what is ultimately freeing you and taking you to that next step and that next level. And that's one of the things that I've seen on my own path and on the path of many others, that it's not about how hard you can work. It's not about how mystical can you get or how spiritual can you get. It's about you looking in the mirror, seeing your own reflection and realizing, wow, it was me all along. I really enjoy talking about death in a weird way because I don't look at it as something so fatal. I live in New Orleans, and down here, death is celebrated. I know in the Western world, a lot of the time we mourn death. We all wear black and, we're really sad about what's going on. But down here, like when they have funerals, they celebrate death. And I know that we use these medicines to experience what death is going to be like, to become closer to it, to prepare ourselves for it. But with each day, with every lesson that we learn, we die a little bit each time. A part of us has to wither away and to melt away in order to embrace and step up to a new part of life. When I turned 30 back in July, I wrote that I wanted my 30th year to be my best year yet. And I thought all these things were going to happen, and they didn't happen, at least not yet. And I thought that if I just achieved this one thing, that this would be it for Taylor. This is the experience. This is what I'm looking for. And I'm still living it right now. It's become my best year yet because time and experience reveals to me that everything is the same. Everything is connected. We live in a world of balance, a world of chaos, and a world of peace. And it's all about whichever you choose to live in. Now, the dangers, I will say, that I think come with using psychoactive drugs or medicines, however you wish to identify them, is that just like anything, you can become lost in the feeling. And when you're identifying, the highs and the lows, one of the most important lessons I've ever learned is to just be present. Try to be present without using anything. I won't lie and say that I journal all the time because I don't. But when I want to remember things and then go back and reflect on them, I do memos on my phone, or I'll write notes, or sometimes I'll just sit and think about it a lot. I'm a thinker. So if you're going through something where you have been working with these medicines, and you might feel like me where I don't want to have to trip all the time in order to see that this is life. I just want to have that understanding. One of the teachers, I listened to a talk this morning actually with Ram Dass, and he was saying that he observed these teenagers who understood what ecstasy was, or they understood altered states of consciousness and had never tried a drug before. And things like meditation, yoga. I think like because of the trope of social media and the digital age, we get obsessed just like with anything else and make it our personality. I know that I've made many things my personality before, but I've also moved on to other things very quickly. And if we can just take a little piece of the same lesson from everything that we try and we do, we'll see that what we need and what we seek from these medicines is the experience, the creation. And this can all be achieved once we kind of let go of the idea that I need this in order to make me happy, or I need this in order to embrace creativity, or I need this in order to figure out who I really am. You already are what you are. It's not going to change. I've had to identify some of the ugliest parts of myself and some of the most beautiful parts of myself and say it doesn't matter. Like today I choose to look at myself as this or that. That's a choice, but you still are. Whether you choose to say today I feel like a good person, you could still be a bad person in some ways. You could say today I choose to experience freedom and still feel trapped. Once you have that self-awareness that this is all, like I said, creation, this is all experience, you don't need to stay chasing all the time. You can just learn to be present, to be as you are. So I'm going to leave today's video here. If you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, you know the deal. I'm not gonna beg anybody to listen to this, but I hope that you resonated with something that I said today. And as always, let love lead the way.